13 jaw-dropping facts about history's most disturbing curses. 1. Do not disturb King Tut. Tomb raiding was a huge problem in Egypt, and the Egyptians would have done whatever they could to protect the tombs from theft. For example, there's a curse inscribed on the stone guarding King Tut's tomb. It threatens a terrible fate to whoever disturbs the young Egyptian king's slumber. Apparently, that inscription meant business. After Egyptologists opened up Tut's tomb in 1922, people involved in the archaeological mission began to drop like flies. When Howard Carter discovered King Tut's tomb, the world was amazed, but also fearful of the mummy's curse. As time passed, it looked like they were right to be afraid. One of Carter's team, Lord Carnarvon, passed on of an infected mosquito bite soon after the discovery. Then the entire city of Cairo was cloaked in darkness, with the lights going out under strange circumstances. After Carter gave his friend, Sir Ingram, an artifact from the tomb, Ingram's house burned down and then, after being rebuilt, flooded. And the disasters just kept coming. The people who discovered the tomb and those who visited its unearthed treasures suffered awful fates. An Egyptian prince was shot by his wife. The man who x-rayed the mummy passed on under mysterious circumstances. A visitor became mysteriously ill after setting foot in the tomb and perished of pneumonia only months later. A man on Carter's team was poisoned. Another member, Richard Bethel, was smothered. His father then took his own life. The scariest proof of Tut's curse lies in the fate of a man named Evelyn White. He visited King Tut's tomb and may have also helped with the excavation. Evelyn White hung himself and left a chilling note. It read, "I have succumbed to a curse which forces me to disappear." According to legend, the note was written in White's own blood. 2. Real-life horrors, The Omen movie. The Omen movie ranks high on a list of most cursed movies in history, and fate really seemed to be gunning for them. Not only were star Gregory Peck and the producer Mace Neufeld on two separate planes that were both struck by lightning, but Peck's son also took his own life just before filming started. Somehow, that was just the tip of the iceberg. The weirdness around The Omen just kept piling up. First, the IRA set off a bomb in the hotel where Neufeld was staying. Then, while filming a sequence involving a plane, the plane crashed and killed everybody on board. But the strangest element was still in store. The movie's designer John Richardson and his assistant perished in a head-on collision. The road sign closest to their car read Omen, 66.6 kilometers. 3. Worst marriage ever. Getting married is supposed to be a happy occasion, but not so for Maria Vittoria dal Pozzo, 6th Princess of Cisterna, whose big day was a massive, and possibly cursed, nightmare. First of all, King Victor Emmanuel of Italy was super against his son's marriage, but the prince went ahead with it anyway. On the day of the wedding, the woman who was to lay out Maria's wedding dress hung herself. Maria tried to change her look by wearing a different gown, but no dice. The colonel heading the wedding parade fell off his horse and passed on due to sunstroke. Next, the palace gates refused to open, and the gatekeeper was found dead. But it gets worse. Unfortunately for the couple, things didn't improve after the wedding. The best man shot himself in the head, the man who put together their wedding contract passed on after a stroke, the station master passed on from being pulled beneath the wedding carriage, and a similar fate befell Count of Castiglione, whose medallion impaled him when he fell. That was it for disasters on their wedding day, but the unfortunate princess passed on in childbirth 10 years later at age 29. 4. Cursed telephone number. A phone number may seem innocuous, but what other than a curse can explain the strange fates of all the people who were assigned the phone number 359-888-888-888? The Bulgarian mobile CEO who was first assigned the number passed on of cancer at age 48, and subsequent owners, including a mafia boss, also passed within a few years of each other. Somebody was certainly spooked because the telephone number has since been suspended. 5. Family suicide curse. The Hemingways have a history of suicide, beginning with author Ernest Hemingway's father, who shot himself when Hemingway was 26. Hemingway's brother, sister, granddaughter, and the author himself also committed suicide, leading the media to proclaim the family cursed. 6. The Ancient Hungarian Curse. The Curse of Turin is a Hungarian curse that originated around 1000 AD when King Stephen tried to force the people to convert to Christianity. One person, a six-fingered shaman with supposed magical powers, refused and placed the 1,000-year curse on all of Hungary. For centuries the country has suffered persecution, despair and misfortune. 7. The Painting That Always Survives. In the 1950s, artist Giovanni Bragolin created a series of paintings featuring crying children, and one painting, titled The Crying Boy, is said to be cursed. Many of the homes that hung the painting ended up burning down, but the painting was always found undamaged. Weirdly, the boy in the painting was also supposedly orphaned when his parents passed on in a house fire. 8. The Lee Family. The untimely demise of both martial artist Bruce Lee and his son Brendan have long been thought to be the result of a family curse. Bruce's father Lee Hoytwin supposedly ticked off some Chinese merchants, and in response they cursed him, promising that all the males in the family would die young. It's hard to say whether it was curse or coincidence, but Lee's parents thought it was real. They even tried to trick the spirits by calling him by a feminine name, though it doesn't seem like that worked. 9. Cursed Franchise Poltergeist. The Poltergeist movie franchise is believed to be one of the most cursed movie franchises of all time, and with good reason. From the slaying of 22-year-old Dominique Dunne to the untimely demise of 12-year-old star Heather O'Rourke, 4 cast members passed on in just 6 years. People blamed the curse on the set dressers, who apparently used real cadavers as props. 10. Watch out for the Mummy Otzi. Mummy Otzi is also attached to a very bad curse. Known as the Iceman because of the glacier that preserved his body, as soon as they dug him up, people started to die. 7 men associated with Otzi have all passed on in violent accidents, including the hiker who discovered him. 11. Didn't make it to 30. Was it bad luck or some kind of curse that has caused a number of brilliant musicians to pass away at age 27? It all started with blues musician Robert Johnson, whose early passing was said to be the devil calling in his debt. Other musicians to die at 27 include Brian Jones, founder of the Rolling Stones, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Kurt Cobain, and Amy Winehouse. 12. Can a car be cursed? It certainly seemed that way when a series of unfortunate accidents befell people who drove or worked on James Dean's Porsche, and the year after it was hit by an oncoming car and Dean was killed. After the hot rod designer George Barris purchased the car, he took it in for a tune-up. The vehicle fell on and broke the mechanic's legs. As if Dean's demise and a pair of broken legs weren't enough, the Porsche's curse continued. 2 different doctors bought the car's engine and transmission. One of the doctors suffered serious injuries in a car accident. The other passed in another automobile accident. Both were supposedly driving cars with the parts in them at the time. That same year, someone purchased the car's tires. They ended up in hospital when both tires supposedly blew at the exact same time. According to legend, a truck carrying the car's shell also crashed, instantly killing the driver. 13. American presidents are no strangers to curses. Native American leader Tecumseh placed a curse on President William Henry Harrison back in 1840. He said that every 20 years, whoever was president wouldn't live past their time in office. Harrison was the first, perishing just 1 month into his term. After that, the curse claimed its victims like clockwork. After, came Abraham Lincoln, 1860, James A. Garfield, 1880, William McKinley, 1900, Warren G. Harding, 1920, Franklin Roosevelt, 1940, and JFK, 1960. Harding and Roosevelt perished of natural causes during their presidencies. Everyone else was shot. Supposedly, the curse broke when Reagan, 1980, survived a shooting while in office. Speaking of presidential curses, we have to talk about the infamous Kennedy curse. Beginning in the 1940s, the descendants of Joe Kennedy Sr. have been plagued with everything that lies between misfortune and utter disaster. To date, the Kennedy curse has ended the lives of 12 people, beginning with Joe Jr., who perished when his plane exploded in a freak accident back in 1944. Years after Joe Jr.'s demise, his sister Kathleen also passed on in a plane crash while on vacation with her second husband. Then, in 1963, shortly after John F. Kennedy became president, things finally seemed to be going well, until JFK was assassinated. Just 5 years later, JFK's brother Robert suffered a nearly similar fate. He too was shot and passed on from his injuries. Third Kennedy brother Ted absolutely did not believe in the curse, or he didn't until he accidentally drove his car off a bridge in 1969. He survived, but his passenger drowned, leading him to rethink his position on the family curse. Over the years, a skiing accident, drug overdose, a plane crash, and other terrible events have caused the demises of many more of the Kennedy clan. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell to be notified of new videos.